Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams, and our focus this morning will be on homelessness. The National Alliance to End Homelessness states that there are over 630,000 people experiencing homelessness on any given night in the U.S. Many factors can contribute to a person becoming homeless: job loss, poverty, mental illness, substance abuse, or even domestic violence. My first guest, many would consider an expert on the subject. MacCanon Brown has worked with Milwaukee's homeless population for 20 years. She's the co-founder and former executive director of Repairers of the Breach. She's working on a new nonprofit that will continue the dedication that she's shown to members of our community. Good morning, MacCanon.
Hello, so good to be here.
Thank you. It's always good to see you. And I get a smile when I see your face because you were one of the first people that I connected with when I moved to Milwaukee.
Yes.
And we've worked on a couple of things together.
Absolutely.
Especially dealing with this subject matter. So if you could start off giving us a clearer picture of Milwaukee's homeless.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. And just to have people be aware, of course, there's the very obvious, probably 25 national trends of basic reasons, causes of homelessness that are pretty easy to identify: landlord-tenant situations, domestic violence, addictions. We have people who are downsized. We have people who they go into a tailspin because of their emotional situation. Just 25 basic national trends, and with that, just increasing. But any person can become homeless.
Absolutely.
I had created a relatedness with someone who had once been a top engineer with GE. And because of his alcoholism, just lost everything. He was a 6-digit income person.
Wow.
And brilliant, and ended up on the streets of Milwaukee. It can happen to anyone, but with Milwaukee, we have a particular situation here because of the long history we have of poverty in this city that has us still ranked as 4th in the country in the cities, the level of poverty among cities. And so wherever you have poverty, you have homelessness. There's such a blurry line. So in this large subpopulation of people here, and people say, well, why are you talking about poor people or people living in poverty? You're supposed to talk about homelessness. I say there's just a real blurry line. So many of the homeless people in Milwaukee are people who have come from that situation of being in a hyper-segregated area and from infancy been growing up and then into adulthood in conditions that are impoverished conditions, lack of opportunity, etc. And in that picture, there are the ones who live on the streets for various reasons. There are the ones who go to shelters, people who live in all kinds of alternative situations while they're homeless. But the doubled up homeless is a very large number in Milwaukee. Those are people who live under a roof, not paying rent, and maybe it's a vacated building, or maybe it's a building where there is someone paying rent, but they're all crowded together. The schools recognize that population.
Yeah, there are so many people, just to piggyback on what you just said, people in our society who live paycheck to paycheck. And so that leaves them literally just a paycheck away from being homeless. So that's a scary thought if people really sit down and think about that. So would you agree that it's a mistake to think that you understand the storyline of every person you see on the street?
It is not possible to do that. Yeah. And what we must factor in is safety net. We need to constantly examine, does Milwaukee need more of a safety net, because there are more and more people falling into the category and the plight of homelessness. When we see people standing by the interstate on ramps, panhandling, my concern is most of those persons are really not homeless people. but they're portraying themselves as homeless, and rather than give something to them, giving something to programs that effectively serve the homeless, because our numbers are growing all the time and we don't have enough safety net here.
All right, that's a great point. Statistics show that 2 years ago, more than 20% of the city's homeless population was employed, either full or part-time. So you have people who are going to work every day, but still have nowhere to go when they get off work.
And it is so true. The meal programs, the agencies serving the homeless, the overnight shelters, they are all overly straining at the seams. And it's a crisis. And the crisis does not decrease, it increases. It is something that we can't be complacent about. You know, we all need to have a sense of urgency in finding the approaches that work and making sure there's enough safety net. The Titanic is sinking, and it's not time to be playing Nearer, My God, to Thee in a string quartet. We need to make sure there are lifeboats, and that's what is motivating me, but also motivating other good programs in this city.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, you are the co-founder and former executive director of Repairers of the Breach, which is located on West Valete in Milwaukee. And I personally watched it grow from a storefront to actually having healthcare services, showers, and being a place where people could go during the daytime because it was the only daytime shelter in the city. So you played a huge role in making all those things possible. What I want to focus on is the fact that you are working towards a new nonprofit, and it's your namesake, the MacCanon Brown Sanctuary Incorporated. You have to tell us about that. Is there a timeline? Where are you with making this happen?
I sure appreciate the chance to talk. Well, I argued about the name, but other people
you deserve it. You've done the work.
and so I have moved on. I am not with Repairers the Breach anymore, but I have so much more to do in this city. So a group of people gathered around me, formed the new organization, and as we did before, we're just beginning from small, tiny, and building up to larger. We are trying to create a homeless daytime sanctuary, once again, a multi-purpose center with daytime hours, but also with the capacity on these freezing nights to become what is called an emergency warming room. So that's the concept. Once again, the same thing that was delivered before. In Boston, which is about the same size, this might be interesting to you, they have about 7 or 8 daytime centers for homeless people.
Wow.
Just about the same size.
Yeah,
as
and we
Milwaukee.
know that they have that unfavorable weather at times, just like Milwaukee. So, and I think it's important for people to understand how extremely essential it is to have daytime shelters, because most shelters open at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So that means there's nowhere warm to go or safe in many instances until the evening. So to have another daytime shelter available is only a plus. I think that's excellent. So I wanted to mention that with this all happening, recently, several months ago, there was a special celebration where Congresswoman Gwen Moore, Mayor Tom Barrett, and civil rights pioneer Vel Phillips, they all showed up to praise you for the service that you've done. Needless to say, you're very humble, but that had to really be special to you because of the work that all of these people have done that were honoring you.
Oh, to have heroes such as they affirm, and also to say, we need this work to continue. Yes, it was. I know you would have been there, but I think you were under the weather at the time. But you have been part of the journey. And for people who have not, you know, it is a journey. We need to have more people who are, you know, beyond just a twinge of conscience about what's going on. We need people who get into an action role, more Schindlers, so to speak, to help prevent people from becoming homeless, but also to rearrange Milwaukee's priorities, rearrange people's personal priorities, so it isn't, prison is not the solution. You know, we had someone in a dumpster sleeping on a cold night, And he heard in the morning the dumpster was shaking, and he heard the sound of the garbage truck.
Oh, wow.
And just because he raised his hand out of the lid of the dumpster and the driver saw his hand, wow, he was spared. You know, we need to replace that with a homeless sanctuary.
Yes.
And where we're going to locate is in the Amani neighborhood,
okay,
which is in Wisconsin the neighborhood with the least. It has the most scarcity, it has the least services, and it has food scarcity. So that is where we are located.
Is that 53206 zip code? Okay.
And we're called to be there. I'm called to be there. The organization is called to be there, and just create a new place where hope is the product, and we can reverse some of these other approaches.
Yes, well, it is truly a blessing to that area that you are coming on board to do this, to help those who are in need. Before we run out of time, how can people at home help donate? Because you are a nonprofit agency, and you've never taken government money, correct, so you've achieved quite a bit without doing that. How can people help make a difference?
Well, thank you. We are blessed to have a great website. It's www.mbsanctuary.org, and people can use PayPal if they wish to donate money. We're not money driven, we're vision driven and faith driven, but PayPal there on that website, or an opportunity to say someone is interested in being a volunteer. And then we also have GoFundMe that people can use, but we just invite people to examine what they might be willing to share.
Yes.
Time, whatever it might be. We need their help.
All right. Well, you know to call me. You know that. So your mission has always been to offer a daytime homeless sanctuary and multi-resource center that has core values of community, spirituality, recovery, dignity, and solidarity. And I'm just so very happy for you that you're able to do that and continue the work that you've done for the past 20 years. A lot of people in this community love you, and I'm just happy to see you still working as hard as you do to help change lives.
Thank you so much, and thank you for what you do.
Oh, well, thank you. And I just wanted to know, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Just the urgency, and in these times we need people to do something about what they maybe think about or feel, but they need to put it in action.
Great way to end the show. Thank you so much for being here. MacCanon Brown is president of the MacCanon Brown Homeless Sanctuary Incorporated. Again, you can log on to mbsanctuary.org for more information, or send your donations to MBHS, that's P.O. Box 80165 in Milwaukee 53208. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll learn more about an organization that has one of Wisconsin's largest and longest serving programs for runaway and homeless youth that has brought safety, hope, and healing to thousands of young people and families over the past 4 decades. We'll talk to representatives from Pathfinders right after this.